And welcome to the Committee of the Whole session of September 12th, 2022 at 5 p.m. All council members are present tonight, and I will ask for a roll call from staff through CAO Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have with us this evening Director McMunn, Director Manhire, Director Costello, and our Senior Planner, Carl Grenke, and of course, our Deputy Clerk, Nadine Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. I myself am Councillor Nikki Dwyer, and I will be chairing meetings of Committee of the Whole for the month of September. To provide the land acknowledgement, I'll say, on September 12th, 2022, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contributions in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. With that, and prior to getting into the business of our agenda, I'd like to call on Mayor Pankow to provide remarks to the community regarding the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chairperson Dwyer. On behalf of the corporation of the town of Smiths Falls and its citizens, I wish to express our deepest grief and mourning at the passing of our monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth inspired us with her love of Canadians and fondness for her country. We've long admired her for her grace, dignity, and steadfast commitment to her role as our queen. Our hearts go out to her family, to all whom she loved, and all who loved her. Rest in peace, Your Royal Highness. You will be missed.
Thank you, Mayor Pankow. With that, I'll move into our agenda. I'll call first for amendments to the agenda tonight. Seeing none, I'll call for a disclosure of monetary interests. Seeing none, I'll remind members that if that changes throughout the agenda, please raise your hand and identify the nature of your monetary interest at the time the item is discussed. Delegations, we have none tonight. I will ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes. Minutes being received tonight, date from June 27th, 2022, Committee of the Whole, and are attached to the meeting agenda package tonight. Do I have a motion? Councillor Alfred, seconded by Councillor Allen. All those in favor? Passed. Thank you. Moving on, I understand that we do have several CAO and directors reports tonight. I'll start tonight, unless told otherwise by CAO Morris, with Director Costello, please.
Thank you. Good evening. 3 reports this evening. One, an update for council regarding the Queen Street petition that was on your agenda on July 11th, 2022. Just to update council that staff have been researching the history of this petition and that a report will be forthcoming following the election. Staff will be preparing that. The second report regarding crossing guards, seems like last meeting I was thanking the crossing guards for a wonderful school season, and now we're welcoming them back for this school season. A reminder to residents to please look out for our children crossing the streets. We have guards at Brockville and Ross, McGill, Chambers, Queen and Anderson, Brockville and Broadview, as well as Ross and Percy. So just a reminder to motorists to please watch, to please stop when you see the crossing guards and wait till the children have stepped onto the sidewalk on the other side. And I do have some election updates. Preparations are well underway, as you're all acutely aware. Residents are encouraged to contact the town hall to find out if they're on the voters list. We do require identification, if not to add you to the voters list. So please contact us. We can provide you with that information. A reminder that this election is being held through internet and telephone. We're expecting the voter information letters, which has the PIN number for all residents to vote, to be mailed out in late September, early October. And the voting period is a 10-day window between October 14th and October 24th at 8 p.m. So during that time, if you do not get something in the mail, please contact us. We can add you to the list and issue you your voter information letter with your PIN included in that. We will have a help center set up here at the town hall to assist any residents who need help or need access to Wi-Fi or the internet or a telephone to vote, as well as staff will be here to assist people. We're also going to be open on October 22nd, which is a Saturday, in the morning from 9 until noon to assist any people who want to come up and vote or who want to be added to the voters list, as we do recognize that we are only open during banking hours, essentially, so that people won't always have access to our office. So we are planning on opening that Saturday. So everybody's welcome to attend if they need help on that day. And a reminder, as in previous years with the election, staff will be attending our local nursing and retirement homes to assist members there, residents there to vote. We work with the administrators of those homes to ensure that we have all of the residents on the voters list and that they're all given the opportunity to vote. Again, if you want more information, feel free to contact the clerk's office or check out our website or Speak Up Smiths Falls. We can be contacted at the clerk's office, either extension 1130 or extension 1102. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Carrie. Councillor McGuire, you have a question?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Director Costello. Great to hear that we're going to be going out to the retirement homes. I was wondering, we have quite a few residents in Lanark Lodge. Will that be included in the list?
If they're not residents of Smiths Falls, they'll be included in the list for that municipality, which I believe is Tave Valley.
So I'd like to see outreach to Lanark Lodge. I think we've got lots of residents there that still own properties in town. And I know in the last election cycle, I heard quite a bit from residents up there. So maybe we could look at the list, and I guess it's hard to figure out because their address is still going to be a Smith Falls address, but just recognizing that we have quite a few people that are eligible to vote that are, even though they're living in Perth right now.
So if they are property owners, they still would be on the list and should receive a voter information letter.
Just there's no computer there for them to vote on is the point I'm making.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I will ask just one. Carrie, given the turmoil we've had, unfortunately, with our website over the last number of months, I'm looking at the elections page on the current website, which hasn't been updated since July 27th. Are members of the community best directed to Speak Up Smiths Falls for current and updated information, or are we anticipating that this website will be updated shortly and we should direct people to the town's official website?
No, great question. So we just got access to the website this afternoon, staff did. So we are planning on updating our website, as we do understand that that is the primary location that people will be looking for information. So we will be updating the website this week and trying to make the move away from Speak Up Smiths Falls, as that really isn't the forum that it was intended for its use. But it has served us during this bit of a transition, but we're going to move everything back over to our website.
Thank you, Carrie. So perhaps the public can sit tight, and by the end of the week, they will be able to find the information on our official town website.
Yes.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, I'll ask for a report from Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of council. Just an audio check. Councillor Dwyer, you can hear me okay? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to update, take an opportunity this evening to update council on the contemplated gateway feature that was talked about back in April of this year. I guess was the last time that this topic came up at this forum. As a result of that meeting, that committee of the whole meeting, there was no direct resolution or motion that came out of that meeting. However, council did direct staff to reach out to the Legion to see whether or not they were, if they were open to the idea of moving the cenotaph from its current location to Town Park. So that was our Art Manhire, our Director of Community Services, reached out to them shortly after that meeting. We heard back from them in May, and they were open to moving the cenotaph to the town park. Now, that being said, the reality right now is that we're approaching mid-September, and we have a lot of projects underway with the parkette work that Kavanaugh are doing, with the small project being Beckwith Street Phase 2, and Town Park, which needs they need to get ramped up to get shovels in the ground there. Albeit they have started in the parking lot itself, and they have done the removals there, and they're staging this week to pour the curb. So lots of good progress on all those projects, the three of them. But there hasn't really been much done with the gateway feature. And so staff did go ahead and plumb in electrical conduit underground to both locations on either side of Beckwith Street down at Elmsley. Should the need arise, or should there be an appetite going forward from the next council to continue with this discussion and pick what they would like to see that gateway feature as being. But right now, through the summer, it's been a busy summer with all these capital projects that we have underway, and not to suggest that we forgot about this particular project, but with everything else going on with Beckwith Street and the Parkette and Town Park, we felt it prudent to keep the gas, the foot on the gas with those projects and make sure we get them wrapped up this fall. So right now, the big push on is to get as much done on Beckwith as we can for the October 1st back on Beckwith event. So we're well staged right now to, Beckwith Street won't be 100% completed, albeit we're aiming to have base course asphalt done and all the concrete work done, maybe portions of the landscaping. It'll look very different than what it looks here today, but it won't be 100% complete. But it'll be in a position to support that event. So that said, I just wanted to provide that update on the gateway feature, and that's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMunn. I'm going to ask you to mute yourself because your mic does seem to get a little feedbacky. I see the hand go up for Councillor McGuire, so I'll start there.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Director McMunn. I'm excited to have you working on this project. How are the hardscapes going to work? If we decided to move the cenotaph in the future, is there going to be a spot for them, or will we have to call in a new crew? And what's the big plan for that side of it?
Yeah, so through the chair. So like I said, there would be nothing to preclude that work from taking place in the future post Beckwith Street being completed, both with the cenotaph. There's lots of green space, if you will, within the park that cenotaph can be easily installed there without too much disruption. It's not a huge feature. And as well as the gateway feature, based on the contemplated locations for the gateway feature, both are off the road. They're in the Greenbelt area or the Boulevard area. So that could still take place post-construction for Beckwith. I think the big thing is that we went ahead and we plumbed in the underground conduit, like I said, for electrical. So that's all staged and ready to go should there be interest in the future.
Thanks. And when do we expect traffic to resume on Beckwith Street?
That's a good question. Post top lift of asphalt and line painting. So I would presume at this point, we'd probably be looking mid-October-ish, about a month from now.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Alfred, I saw your hand as well.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Director McMunn, was the only location discussed between the Legion and Director Manhire to move it into the town square? I thought there was another location that they were open to.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, I believe there were a couple of locations that were contemplated, albeit their preference in Town Park.
Okay, thank you.
The Legion's preference would be Town Park.
Okay, well, again, it'll be for the next council to decide what it is and where it goes. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alfred. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn it over to CAO Morris with the last of our updates.
Madam Chair, that concludes the director's updates for this evening.
My apologies. Excellent. We're flying through the agenda. We have no correspondence items tonight. However, we do have one in-camera item. The in-camera item being considered tonight is item 7.1, a potential land disposition. The recommended motion is that Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls, as provided in section 239 sub 2 subsection C of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, move into a closed session to discuss a potential land disposition. Do I have a mover? Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor McKenna. All those in favor? Thank you. For members of the public, we will recess into closed and be back as quickly as possible. Thank you for your patience. Nadine, I will wait for your cue to proceed.
Yep, if we can just keep our microphones off until we move back in. It's just taking the screen off. Okay, okay, Madam Chair, it appears that the in-camera screen is down and we can proceed.
Thank you. Thank you all for bearing with us while we got through our in-camera item. I can advise that our Verizon report was to provide direction to staff regarding an agreement of purchase and sale, and that this item will come forward at a future committee of the whole. Moving on, we have 2 items of priority issue tonight. The first being 8.1, the procedural bylaw. Knock on wood, this is our final kick at the can. I'll turn it over to Director Costello to provide a summary of where we are at now.
Thank you. So at our last meeting that this was discussed, council wanted a little more clarification on delegations and presentations. So in this report, I tried to provide more definition between a presentation as well as a delegation and where they would sit in the bylaw. So presentations would be dealing more for guests that are invited to present information to council or committee, whereas delegations would be simply presenting information to committee of the whole. So in this report, I've went ahead and broken out and brought forward new definitions for presentation, as well as a section now on proclamations, and separated out and defined the delegation procedure in a more detailed manner. So that is all in your report. I didn't know, I'm hoping all of you went through it. So presentations is when there's a request to council and it would honor outstanding citizens, organizations, charitable causes, townwide initiatives, anything that contributes to the health and vitality of the town of Smiths Falls. So currently anything like that, we kind of lump together under the delegation category. So that would be a presentation. We've added the definition of proclamation. We all know what a proclamation is. However, it wasn't defined in the bylaw as it has been presented. So that's a ceremonial document signed by the mayor containing a message of importance, interest, or benefit to a significant number of citizens to Smiths Falls. So I went ahead and drafted what these portions of the new bylaw would look like. The proclamation section, as I indicated, is new, and it would take place during the delegations and presentation portion of the agenda. And as well in the report, I did outline when a proclamation would be issued and when a proclamation would not be issued. It just gives some parameters for the mayor's and the clerk's office when proclamations come in and for items that may not really have anything to do with the town of Smiths Falls. So that gives the parameters in place to possibly reject a request for a proclamation. As well in the report, I've outlined in detail the delegation procedure, which I think is a little more detailed that was requested through Councillor Alfred. Delegations would take place at committee of the whole meetings. And at the end of the report, I went ahead and detailed a proposed timeline. Unfortunately, with the election, I didn't get a chance to put the whole bylaw together. But with your review tonight and comments or anything else that may be brought up, I can put all that together in a neat package for the September 26th presentation of the bylaw in its entirety, with passage at council proposed October 3rd, 2022. And then we'd be looking at starting to bring in the eScribe elements when the new renovations take place and we have all the technological advances in order to use our hybrid function. And then we're looking to have inaugural and training with the new council in November, December 2022. So that is the report. There is no financial impact. Like I said last time, all of these functions are already in the eScribe package that we've already purchased. So with any final comments regarding these sections, they'll be included in our final product to be presented at next committee of the whole. So I'm hoping that that's gone into a little bit more detail that Councillor Alfred requested.
Thank you, Director Costello. Councillor Alfred, I'll let you start.
Thanks very much, Carrie. Other than a couple grammatical things I'll forward to you in an email, I'm very happy to see this come to fruition. We have labored sometimes because our procedural bylaw hasn't been as clear as we need it to be. And so I know this was a huge piece of work for you, but I am feel very good that this council is going to leave this very foundational document for the next council that is arriving after us. So I just, my thanks, Carrie, for all the work. And I think this is a valuable piece of work that will help us all, or help future councils and future staff, to make sure there's little or no confusion about what is intended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pankow, and then Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. I too am pleased, Dr. Costello, with the final result we have here. The only concerns I have relate to proclamations, and a statement proclamation must be requested by an individual organization that resides or works within the boundaries of the town of Smith Falls. And we frequently have requests for proclamations, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, National Accessibility Week, related to national organization, Cancer Society, etc. So I'd just like to see some latitude there to incorporate, I guess, national interests that would, or provincial issues that would also include an impact the town of Smith Falls. There's probably at least half a dozen a year that would be prohibited based on the wording here.
Okay. Duly noted.
Thank you. Other than that, thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before I go to Councillor Brennan, Councillor Alpert, did you have a comment directly related to Mayor Pankow's comment? Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
because under the new one, I think, Mayor Pankow, it says proclamations are ceremonial documents signed by the mayor containing a message of importance, interest, or benefit to a significant number of citizens of Smith Falls. So it might cover off your concern there.
Yeah, I think it's still the additional statement that it must be requested by an individual or organization that resides or works within the boundaries of the town of Smith Falls. It might, so just a little bit more
Tweak.
latitude within the wording, please.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brennan, thank you for your patience. And Councillor McGuire, I do see your hand as well.
Yeah, thanks for this work. I think that we spent 5 or 6 hours at least talking about the procedural bylaw and hammered out a lot of stuff. I understand the mayor's comments and maybe a wording like or at the discretion of the mayor and council might suffice to cover that off. But otherwise, great work and a tough job. And I don't think I've seen I don't think I've done this before in 12 years, Councillor Allen and Mayor Pankow. This is the first one we've done, and it's long overdue. So great work, staff, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGuire?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Mayor Pankow on the inconsistencies in the new proclamation section. There's several bullets that need to be streamlined, I think, to make it, as the feedback we gave last time, to apply to organizations not necessarily within the town. There's one line that stood out to me. It does not, like, with regard to proclamations, it does not, however, constitute a personal or civic endorsement. I don't understand if it doesn't constitute a personal endorsement and it doesn't constitute a civic endorsement, what does it constitute? And I would assume having a municipal proclamation would be a civic endorsement of something. But I don't understand that bullet or what we're trying to say there.
It is confusing, Councillor McGuire, and I do agree. The first line of that clause simply says the decision to issue proclamations is based on the recognition that the mayor represents all citizens. So I think it's just opening up that a proclamation that the mayor would bring forward, although may not constitute his personal endorsement, it is being brought forward for the benefit of the community. I don't disagree now that I'm reading that does cause some confusion, that one line. So if council concurs, I would happily strike through that line.
Thank you. I see general thumbs up going around. Councillor McKenna, I will turn it over to you for questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Carrie. One question on formatting, and the second one is a different one. Will the final product use bullets, or would it go
No,
8.6.1?
it'll all be numbered.
Okay, so in that sense, 8.6 under delegation 0.7 or bullet 7, it's still the one that says we cannot speak to matters that are not within the jurisdiction of council. And I'm reflecting back when we had a delegation from Canopy and Tourism Ontario asking us to support their initiative to bring cannabis-infused beverages into bars. We have no jurisdiction over that. And yet it was an important topic for us. And I was glad we had a delegation. So that one still causes me some concern. There are many things that benefit the whole community that we don't have jurisdiction over, but we might want to either invite or receive a delegation on that matter. So I know there's an out that if council and the mayor at their discretion, but I'm just a little concerned. I'm not trying to restrict delegations. I think there's things that we can do to support and advocate, but it's not really our jurisdiction. So I don't know what my colleagues think, or if there's another, is there a loophole somewhere that would allow something like us working on a cannabis-infused beverage strategy, even though it's not in our bailiwick?
Director Costello?
So that line was specifically included as that was kind of the feedback that I kind of took from our last meeting, was that things that were operational in nature, not that weren't within council's purview, that that council didn't want to see on an agenda. So I mean, that's a great discussion point. I'll take the direction from council, but that was kind of a takeaway that I got at the last committee meeting. So it possibly, if council wishes, maybe it's a line we simply leave the mayor and committee chair in consultation with the clerk will determine if the matter is within the jurisdiction of the committee or council, or will benefit the citizens or the town of Smith Falls, where we take out the first sentence, something of that nature, if council concurs, to give some more latitude.
Yes, I see a lot of nodding heads on that.
Okay.
Carrie. I think you've got consensus from the group to move forward with that. Okay, I don't believe we've had comments from Councillor Allen. Lorraine, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
I think the comments that have been made already, there's nothing more than I feel we need to change, or I think it's good. I think it's something that's, we're going to use, that you're going to use, the council of the future is going to use this now. And it's something that we could have been using in the past. It would have been better, easier for us.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Allen. All right. So with that, Carrie, I believe you've got some pretty clear direction from council. Yeah. And you will be presenting to us a final draft bylaw in its full entirety on September 26th.
That is correct.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Very exciting.
Yes. So we look forward to receiving that. I don't think I've heard anything from council regarding concerns with your proposed timeline. So unless there's comments to the contrary, I'm going to give you the green light to come back to us on the 26th with a full complete copy. And hopefully we can get this done, sealed, and delivered by the time Lorraine and I are leaving this council.
We will do it.
Into glassy retirement.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Our last item on the agenda. Item 8.2, Partners for Climate Change Protection, Milestone 1 report with CAO Morris. Malcolm, can you provide us with an overview of your staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So committee may recall back in November of 2019, you made the decision to join the Partners for Climate Protection Program. And we got started, and then COVID visited upon us and changed our priorities. So we didn't get traction in the beginning, but we did get started in late 2020, early 2021. And back in April of 2021, we brought forward a preliminary report to give you a snapshot of emissions and energy used for our baseline year of 2017. So this is all to satisfy the milestone number 1 of the program. There are 5 milestones in the Partners for Climate Protection. I would say the first and second milestones are by far the largest and most time consuming. And that's where we are right now. So, what we're presenting this evening is a recommendation to accept our inventory data that we put together, and also to consider developing what we're calling a climate protection working group to help us fashion our greenhouse gas reduction goals going into the future. And just as importantly as the goal is the mechanism or the initiatives to get there. And so we feel that there may be a public role in creating those goals and those initiatives. So with that said, I'll just walk you through briefly what we've discovered. So back when we first provided preliminary statistics, we were showing about 1,882 tons of CO2 equivalent, and CO2 equivalent is simply a measurement used to standardize emissions based on what a ton of carbon dioxide produces. There are several greenhouse gas emissions, methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide are the big ones. So, so this is a kind of a standardized industry way of measuring greenhouse gas emissions. So we went back and we refined those numbers. We dug a little bit deeper into some of our consumption statistics and came up with a new baseline 2017 greenhouse gas emissions of 1,827 tons. Still a considerable amount of CO2 equivalent. And what's important is that just under half come from our water and wastewater treatment operations. They are very energy intensive operations. And the balance, the other 50.8%, comes from all of our other corporate activities. So it's also worth noting that since 2017, we've done a number, council has undertaken a number of initiatives to improve or reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. The Honeywell energy audit was by far the biggest. We've implemented all of the recommendations from the work that was done, and we're seeing the results. The town hall renovations, phase 1 in 2018, phase 2 in 2020, and of course, phase 3 that's underway now will certainly reduce our carbon footprint. We converted all of our streetlights to LED in 2020, so that made a measurable difference. And more recently, and maybe on a smaller scale, we trialed an electric lawnmower, a commercial strength riding lawnmower that we put out in Lower Reach Park and put it through its paces. So that was an experiment to find out if that's the right equipment for our needs. So all that is good baseline data. We thought because of the work that we've done since 2017, we'd do a check-in. So we ran the same data set for 2021, and I'm happy to say we have reduced greenhouse gas emissions, not surprisingly. We've witnessed a 3.61% reduction. So with all of those initiatives, it totals a 3.6% reduction. More, I guess, profound is our energy consumption has actually reduced by 13% over that same period. So I bring this up because energy consumption and greenhouse gas reduction emissions are not proportional. You don't just reduce, your energy consumption and reduce the equivalent amount of greenhouse gases. There's an indirect relationship between the two of them. That's going to be important when we start setting goals that are aspirational and aggressive, but realistic. And that's why I think we need a conversation with a group of people that are all focused on developing realistic but assertive goals. So we're heading in the right direction. I think that's the message here. At the same time, we're working on the community emissions. That's being done through with assistance from the County of Lanark. And of course, the mayor is on the Lanark County Climate Action Committee. So there's lots of good work being done there. They're poised to set goals, emission reduction goals corporately and community-wide. I think that's coming up very shortly. And they've developed a draft list of initiatives through that committee that the county should be working on, and by extension, the lower tier and Smiths Falls. It's my opinion that we should look at that list for the community reductions ourselves, and I would suggest that would be a function or be part of the mandate of the climate working group. So with all that, we've spent, the good news is we've spent very little money. That's been mostly staff resources. We will need to prepare, and we will put something in the 2023 budget for a consulting resource to help us pull it together and actually produce the plan. But by that time, we'll certainly have a lot of the baseline data to input into the plan. So right now, in my view, the focus is to set goals and identify specific initiatives that will help us get there. And I think that's best done through a group made up of members of council, perhaps some staff, and certainly some several community members. So I'll pause there. That's our recommendation, and open it or be open to any questions you might have.
Thank you, CEO Morris. I saw a lot of hands go up there. So I'm going to start with Councillor Allen because her hand is almost never up first.
No, I agree with your recommendation, and I look forward to this group of people, because I think we have a lot of environmental advocates in our community, and I think that this is something that they would be really willing to sit on a group and work to help this happen. And I think it's something that we need to be addressing. And I guess my question to you, Sarah Morris, was too, it doesn't I'm a teacher, so I'm always looking at big gains. And I know that's probably not the way you do that in environmental data, but it didn't seem like a huge amount to me, but you seem very pleased with it. So does it just happen in small increments over time? Is that normal?
Yeah, through the chair, that's a really great observation. I wasn't entirely enamored by the 3.6% reduction, but the energy reduction, I think, was noticeable at 13%. So we're doing what we can to reduce energy consumption. I think the next step really is to understand the type of energy that we're using and how it relates to greenhouse gas reduction emissions. And that there's an educational part to that as well. But natural gas is, by far the largest energy source we use, and there is methane associated with combustion of natural gas, and methane is one of the higher contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. So I think we need to dig a little deeper. I'll contend that we've done great work. The energy audit that Honeywell did identified, really some intuitive initiatives and others that I think we needed to implement. Reducing the thickness of the ice at the arena is by far, in my mind, the best one. We were cooling a large ice cube. We're cooling a smaller ice cube today, and naturally it takes less energy to do that. So that's one really important one. But you're right, and I think the 3.6 is a little bit sobering, despite all the work we've done, and that's why we need to be realistic about setting reduction targets. We've also had growth in the community, so there's more activity going on. So as we grow, we need to factor that into our reduction strategy and our reduction goals. So it's a great start. We have a lot of work to do.
Thank you.
Sorry, as you can tell from the face I just made, there was an explosion in my kitchen. Mayor Panko, do you have anything you would like to add?
Do we need to call a fire department or anything? Or are we okay for now?
No, I think we're okay. Perhaps a dumpster truck, but otherwise we're fine.
Okay. I'm encouraged to see this coming forward, and having been involved with the climate action committee at the county, and we've made significant strides forward in identifying strategies and tactics that will help reduce both corporate and community inventories. And noticeably, what is different between most of the rural municipalities and us and the inventory, of course, is we have a water plant, a wastewater treatment plant. We have water and sewer mains running through our streets, and these are all big factors. So when I look at the overall percentages, transportation doesn't form as big a percentage here as it would across the county, understanding we have these big facilities we have to manage. But of course, we've seen significant and severe weather events on a more frequent basis this summer, whether that's the atmospheric rivers, the heat domes, wildfires, Derico, all these things that probably were not even terms we would consider just a few recent years ago. So this is a critically important step that we move forward with this. And option one, obviously, we have, as Councillor Allen mentioned, we have some really knowledgeable people in the community that can help guide us going forward. And we need community buy-in. And I think we all have a responsibility to individually and corporately do our part. And as microscopic as that may be on the global scale, everyone has to be involved in trying to create the proper solutions here. So I'm encouraged with the modest results that we have achieved. And I look forward to seeing the overall reductions in our energy consumption and CO2 emissions once we are completed our municipal complex renovations. I mean, we've seen progress with phase 1 and 2, with phase 3 done that'll help. Sewer separation, directing wastewater away from a wastewater treatment plant means we're treating less water, and replacing and repairing water mains means that we're producing less water, which means we're also using less energy. So I think there's a lot of steps we've made that are not measured here today. But I think once we incorporate that, we will see we are closer to hitting our objective, but an objective that we don't know what that number is today. And I think at the county level it was a 30% reduction, I think by 2030. So we're at 3.6, 3.7. We have a ways to go. But regardless, I think it's encouraging to see this coming forward. I fully support option one and look forward to the next council delving deeper into this than we've had the opportunity to do.
Thank you, Mayor Panko. Hate to say it, but I've lost my focus. Who's next? Okay, Councillor Alfred, you're up next.
I don't know if I was next or not, but just to say that I think this was a really good decision on behalf of this council to join the Partners for Climate Protection. And we did that back in 2019. And of course, COVID and a few things contributed to us not being able to pay more attention. But this framework is going to help us stay on track. And I support staff's recommendations. I would only say one thing, and that is that while I support adding a committee, and I know or at least I think that staff is going to bring back looking at the number of committees that are going to be in place for the next council to handle. This is a super important one, and one that can be very active. And so hopefully we can create the time to give those members of council who wish to be involved time enough to dedicate to that. But I'm super thrilled. Right, you're right. We now know where we are, and we now know where we have to go. So that is a big piece of information, just that alone.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, thanks. I support option one. And anytime that we can do things that are beneficial to the environment, i.e. the Honeywell project, and save money, it's a very, very easy sell. And so, you know, it is a modest reduction, but it's not an increase. And I expect it'll go down from there. So I support option one, and I agree that there's many people in this town that want to contribute to this this subject. So option one's for me.
Thank you. Councillor McKenna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too support the staff recommendation. I would point out that grants are available and will follow when you have a plan. And when we do have that plan, I believe there are opportunities for Upper Tier to support us in the recommendations we come up with. The other benefit, it's a two benefits to reducing our energy consumption. And Councillor Brennan alluded to that. One, the reduction in greenhouse gases, but two, the cost savings as energy costs are continuing to rise. We may be spending the same amount of money, but our consumption, it might go down just because of rising energy costs and inflation. The other question I had is regarding Parks Canada, and would this committee, could this committee reach out to our friends at Parks Canada? They have a large footprint in our community, and I would like to know what their climate mitigation, I would like to know their climate mitigation, but their climate action reduction targets are, and can they hone it down to the region around Smiths Falls, because they have large buildings. How are they measuring that, and could we piggyback on any work that they should be doing? And I expect the committee terms of reference could be set up to look at that. We have local industry as well that could be partnered. I do have concerns. We aren't talking yet about climate mitigation. It's coming. No matter how hard we try, it's here. No matter how hard we try to reduce our footprint. Someone earlier mentioned increased climate crises around us, tornadoes on our doorstep, rain, just unprecedented rainfalls. So I wonder where the town, and would that become under emergency planning, where we could look at scenario planning if this happens related to climate change and the impact on our community, and will we be ready because it's here, and where will that take place? And finally, not to belabor all this, but I am pleased to hear at the LeBoat presentation earlier this summer that they're looking to moving to electric boats, because we have this beautiful canal, and those boats do have an impact on the climate. So I applaud LeBoat. I would encourage them to keep moving in that direction and show continued leadership in moving to electric vehicles and away from the traditional fossil fuel. So that was a lot to get in, and I don't know if CEO Morris wants to comment on any of that. Thank you.
Sierra Morris.
Yeah, through the chair, so good points. We certainly will want to engage with Parks Canada. They're a large landowner and building owner. So I know they're working on their operational plan for the Rideau Canal, and Smith Falls will feature prominent in that plan, but we'll certainly ask the question about their climate mitigation strategies as well, and how we can dovetail together. In terms of the risks, the natural disaster risks, I can share that in our emergency plan, we identify high risk threats. The acronym is HIRA, and we review them annually, and flooding has taken a more prominent position on that list of 18 or 20 high risk events. So we do consider new threats through our emergency planning exercises and updates. So I think that answers your question. But I think the point there, the very well placed point, is that we can't do this in isolation. We can't set our targets in isolation of those around us. We need to work together and be consistent. And so Parks Canada, for instance, have just installed Tesla charging stations here at their Rideau Canal headquarters in Smiths Falls. And that's something we're working on with both for public access electric vehicle charging, as well as anticipating our own corporate fleet perhaps one day being electric. So those are the things we can work cooperatively on and make sure we have consistency throughout town. So good points. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, CAO Morris, I believe you have full support for your staff recommendation, which will come forward. Does it need to come forward for a resolution?
Yeah, I think a resolution to pursue the working group would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. So for clarity, that will come forward at the next council meeting as scheduled. And with that, I'm very pleased to go to our last order of business, adjournment. Oh, Peter, yes, Councillor McKenna.
Would the chair indulge me just to say that we want to welcome our new medical officer of health, Dr. Lena Lee, to Lanark Leeds Grenville. She sent a message out to the board. She's actually looking for events and food ideas where she can get out and start visiting the community. So if you've got an upcoming event, our new medical officer of health would love to hear from you, and she will endeavor to get around and visit the wonderful communities throughout Lanark Leeds Grenville. Thank you for that brief promo.
You're welcome, Peter. I'd say you owe me, but we're running out of time. All right, with that, we'll motion to adjourn that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 6:04 and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. Moved by, I saw Jay's hand go up. Jay, you better not have a point. You're motioning, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, perfect. And a seconder? Lorraine, and